Sick. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the CAYACast. This is episode 33. Today from the team, I'm joined by Jared on that end. And our guest today is the wonderful Mila-Rose. Welcome to the CAYACast.
Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure. We've been trying to make it happen for a while, but because I'm chaotic and life has been chaotic, it's taken its time. But these things happen when they're supposed to. Yeah, I mean, we started talking about, we have been through the trenches a little bit. Season was a crazy one.
Mm-hmm.
We had Pledge Rage, and then you were at Wonder Bay. I wasn't. The homies were at Wonder Bay, and then Bazik.
Yeah,
it's been quite a season.
It has.
Let's talk about the trenches. Shooey wooey. Let's kick things off though. You are many things in the creative industry, DJ, model. But what do you think gets missed out of an intro when people introduce you in whatever context? What do you think is missing?
No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
That was a good answer. Hey.
I think people get most of it, like model, DJ. I think I like the term creative because people hear model and they immediately put me in a box. When it comes to being a DJ as well, I think it does happen to like lessen my credentials. But no, I think I would say that's pretty accurate. Yeah, I mean, I have a few things I'd like to add to the list, but that'll come when I'm done. At the moment, I'm a student as well. I study full-time at Stellenbosch, so I guess people miss out student.
Okay. I mean,
not that no one wants to know. I mean, that's not interesting. But
it's an important aspect as well because you are super busy professionally and it doesn't look like you are also studying.
Thank you. I know. I really like to keep it under wraps. No, not really. I just I am in Cape Town 99% of the time. I stay in Stellies when I have compulsory classes, but for the most part, like my university shouldn't be on the side, but I very much love to prioritize my work.
Listen, you're talking to somebody for whom university was very firmly on the side.
Really? Okay, cool. So, I feel seen.
Yeah, no, this is the place.
What are you studying?
I'm studying a BA in humanities at Stellenbosch, and I'm in my third and final year.
Okay. Nearly done. There we go.
Thank
See?
God
it's
willing.
Almost over. There were a couple of interesting things you picked up on there. We're definitely going to get into what things you want to add to the CV a little bit later. But I do want to talk about, because it's really interesting and something that I think is really important to talk about is when you said kind of people, when you say you're a model, people put you in a box and then like it has an impact on how people look at you as a DJ.
And book me.
I would love to get into that because I think that's a really important conversation to have and like, let's fucking have it. Like, yeah, as a, I mean, being a female DJ is a challenge in and of itself. There's aspects that are challenging in and of itself. But obviously with the modeling work you do, there's, like you said, other assumptions people make. Talk us through that experience. We just want to be here and listen.
I feel like it starts with, first of all, I have a bit of a following on Instagram that also people will...
Kind of minor.
But how much?
Not really.
Only literally 17.4, which is not a lot in the grand scheme. No, but think about your influencers today and your South African influencers, they have massive followings. So I'm very grateful for my following. And that's obviously to do with my modeling work because I post a lot of my stuff on my Instagram. Not so much anymore, but I also work through my Instagram. I wouldn't like to call myself an influencer. But I take certain jobs through my Instagram, and so I have a following, and that also people see that, and I think it actually has a negative impact because no one's like it shouldn't be a marketing game. It shouldn't, and it isn't. But people will see that it looks like we're booking another influencer. That was a lot in the beginning, not so much anymore. Thankfully, I would like to say, I'm earning my, is the saying earning my stripes? What's the word?
Yeah, no.
I'm doing my
stripes.
time. Yeah. So people take me a lot more seriously now. But when I started, it was very much like people didn't want to book me because I had a following and because I'm a model. And, it's like, are you just putting a girl on the lineup because you want to get people there? You want to sell tickets, that kind of thing. It was very much that. And people think you don't hear. Yeah. That's the funniest thing. People think things don't get back to you, but they very much do.
Cape Town is tiny. You hear everything.
It is. And also someone will be like, heads up, they didn't think you could play this gig, but you actually crushed it. Well done. And I'm like, why didn't they think I could play it? And they were like, oh, because of this and this and this. And it always comes back to the fact that I have a lot of followers and that I'm pretty and that I model. So I don't know why. It's just people negate that. They
Interestingly,
think
none of that has anything to do with any DJing ability.
No, exactly.
Whatsoever.
It doesn't. But I think people think it will get you in the door easier because of like the whole sex souls thing. But it doesn't in this sense at all. If anything, like I said, I think it was like people were a bit like, we don't want to look silly for booking her in the beginning. So, yeah.
I mean, the one thing I will say, and I'm also not like, I don't go out very much. I don't spend much time listening to DJs but like even just what I've seen and the shows I've seen, you've definitely earned your stripes. And, you know, like I think that is evidenced by the fact that you're getting booked now. It feels like all of a sudden you're getting booked a lot more. And it's like people have, you know, like everyone's going to have their assumptions and those assumptions are very wrong. But it is, you know, good to see that everyone's actually going, okay.
Yeah.
You know, never mind.
It has felt pretty like the turnaround, which I'm glad.
Yeah. No, and like good for you for also like just putting your head down and going, okay, cool. I'm gonna like fuck you. Like I'm just gonna play the sets, you know, and I'm gonna keep building. So like well done, because I mean, obviously I can't imagine what kind of dealing with that kind of a challenge is like.
There's worse things you can deal with, definitely, but it is more just like, it made me feel so silly. Like I would feel like such a bimbo up there. I'm like, do I really know what I'm doing? So it was just more like I had to learn how to back myself. And I'm still learning, but I think that definitely had a big part in it. Like no matter what anyone said or thought of me, or like she's too silly to be up there, I would just be like, no, I have to back myself. So
yeah. And I mean, I suppose at some point in your career would have eventually got to that point where people are like, oh no, this person maybe doesn't deserve to be there.
Exactly,
Just so happens with you, it was really early on, which in my eyes, it's kind of like a blessing in disguise, because that forced you to work harder and make sure of yourself.
Yeah.
So in that way, I think it's like,
also at the time where it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
True.
Thank you for also being honest about that, because I think that's an important thing for people to hear. And I think it's also really encouraging for other people looking to get into DJing. And, you know, I think another thing you touched on, which was interesting, is the thing of, oh, well, are they just putting me out, you know, putting a goal on the lineup, so there's a goal on the lineup, which I think is like,
you still get that
100%. I mean, like, and I'd love to hear about that from you, because it's like, on one hand, you want to encourage, you know, we want to encourage properly representative lineups, but at the same, you know, how do you combat that? I'd love to hear your experience.
I had one gig where they had like a whole bunch of women on the lineup, and then they shoved us all in the tiny stage, like in the corner room. We were playing Botanic Social House, and like there were no women on the main stage, and they were just men, and then all the women were in one room, and we were like, and no one was there.
But
there was
the
like
marketing,
a bar.
It was all the female
the marketing
DJs.
was great. People were like, oh my gosh, so, because that was when the conversation was quite big. I think it was the end of 2020, beginning of 2021. No, because we were still in COVID then. Anyway, it was a while ago, and the conversation was really big about having more women on the lineup. So it looked good from a marketing perspective, but it was so shit if you were there. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I think, you know, it's, for me, it's just like there's actually just no excuse for that at this point, because like there's so many great DJs who happen to be women. Yeah. And I think that's like the way that it needs to be looked at, is like, just book great DJs. Literally. Make sure you're not just booking men, because it's just like there's no excuse for that. No. It's not like book women because they're women. Book these DJs because they're great DJs, and make sure that you're not just booking men. I think is like, you know, because it's not about it's a female DJ. It's about have good DJs, really good, and it's not just dudes, because that's just like, for me, it's like a selection thing. Like if you're putting on a lineup and you have I mean, like, look, if there's 2-3 like people, it's a bit
big names.
Yeah. But it's like, if you're putting on a extensive lineup of like 5 or more performers, and it's just men, like, you're just actually, you don't have that broad of a taste, and you haven't listened to that many good DJs, because if you did, there'd just be some women on that lineup. Absolutely. Like by accident. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like, they're just good DJs, so you book them anyways. And I mean, I wonder, does it feel like that's getting better? I think so, yes, absolutely. I don't want to say absolutely like entirely better, but I would definitely say the events I've been playing lately have really, really great DJs, and they have a good portion of women on that lineup. Yeah. Yeah. Especially the ones I played this season. It was like nice, because even though I felt like a lot of the time I was the singular girl like in the camp, that's just because there were other women, but like they just weren't staying
like with the residents, you know what I mean? Like, so there were other women in and out, which I really enjoyed because it's just so nice. Like it's literally, there's just like this camaraderie in it, and it's so nice to have that, because the odds are you've lived a lot of the same experiences. So yeah.
Can all relate to some of those stories.
Talking about season.
Yes.
Played Rage.
Oh, loved it.
So what was took us like how you got the residency and like the process behind it.
Okay. I went to Pledge Rage in 2019. That was my rage, and I loved it. Like I didn't have my own music taste, I'd say, until I was about 18, 19. Like I listened to music on my own, but I didn't have confidence in my music taste. And then I would say going to a bunch of festivals when I was 18, 19, Pledge Rage being one of them, they had I think it was called the Bass Cabin then, and that was just techno. And that is like where my love for techno really like blossomed. So it was amazing because that's where like I really started to love music. And I would always joke with my friends, I'd be like, that's going to be me one day up on the stage. Like, you know, you just take the piss. And also I would never ever thought that I would get into it. And then I knew a few people on the team. Like I didn't know them. I just got to know them through being at Rage and like just being around. And I started making SoundCloud mixes in COVID and lockdown. And I would send them through and I'd be like, please, can I be on your lineup one day? Like I have no scam when it comes to asking to, especially in the beginning. Because if you don't ask, there's really like, I would still be playing in my bedroom, I think. And I'd say, please you listen. And they were like, listen, like your song selection is good. My transitions were shocking. So they were very sweet. They'd give me like feedback. They'd be like, this is good, work on this, get back to us in a few months. You know, just like they were being polite. They were being nice. And then fast forward, and I had been DJing, I think, for almost 2 years. And they booked their DJs really early on in the year. And I was originally going to go in, was it 2020 that they thought they could have one? I think we all thought the world was going back to normal. Or was that 2021?
21.
Yes.
21.
And so I got booked for that and I said no, because it was my 21st birthday that year. And I was like, I have to be at home. Ended up not happening. Didn't even have a 21st. And then in the beginning of 2022, they reached out and I was like, absolutely. Like I'm not passing up this opportunity. Yes, I will be there. Like if I run at a loss, I don't care. I'm there. And I was there and it was amazing. I think it was definitely just to see production at that level. Like I've played in clubs, I've played at festivals and stuff, obviously really early opening slots. So you don't see that much. Obviously everyone's setting up around you, but to see that full scale production, be part of it and to feel part of like a community and a family for 10 full days was really unreal. And I met so many artists that I started crying when I met Shimza. Fair enough. Like I met artists and I sat in the same artist section as them and I would never ever in a million years have thought that would have happened. So it was an unreal experience. And I think really great in terms of I got to play on stages and stuff that I hadn't yet, and which prepared me for my season, thank God, because I had a really good season and I needed those 10 days of like intense, like I think I played almost every day.
You played a lot of music. I was about to say.
So, and I played different genres as well, which I like.
That's what I was going to say. You played across those sets. And I mean like we're some of the few people who
like
are well whatever morning. To also like have heard a lot of your sets. Like it was really varied, which I really like, because I did find that some of the other residents it was like not that, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
That's okay.
But I really enjoyed that, and also like I'm a rock music baby. That's like I don't listen to a lot of EDM.
Fair enough.
Generally, that's what I was brought up on, and then it's where I was in the industry. But like I really enjoyed your sets because there was breadth to it, and I think it's important, and I think it's what you've been showing off, is that you can play different. You can play the 12 those midday sets and then the late night ones as well.
I like to think of myself as a chameleon, because like I have been put almost everywhere, obviously not headlining, in a lineup. So anywhere before, anywhere after, and I think I could prepare a set for pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you quite literally, I mean, just over the last 2 months, we've seen you play at 12 p.m. It's pretty much everywhere in between there.
Yeah.
Up until, I mean, the 4 a.m. set at Physique, which I couldn't catch because I capped out.
Fair enough.
But by all accounts was a great set. And I think that's diversity of capacity, because that's very different audiences.
It is.
Yeah, which, I mean, yeah, not exactly my field of expertise, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't say it was almost sunrise.
It was almost sunrise.
Yeah, it was
it was like that last set that would have gone hard, and then everyone had to like slow it down.
Yeah, I was talking to you the next morning.
Yes,
like,
I remember.
What was it? You're thinking about playing what genre?
I wanted to play quite euphoric. Like, I love 90s rave, but that euphoric kind of sound where it's a lot of vocals and like not so much bass. And that was my original plan. That's what I prepped for 2 months. I collected music, and then I got there, and Stab Virus was sending it as they do. And I chatted to a friend in the industry a bit before, and I was like, there was a lot of pressure on me for the set, because a lot of people were, not a lot, but there was a few people in the industry who are quite influential that were not so stoked on me playing that time. Because rightfully so, they were like, who the fuck is Mila-Rose? And so there was a lot of pressure. And so I planned and I got there and I threw it out the window, and I just like
smashed it.
Thank you. I freestyled it with like really hard stuff that I had on my USB by chance, some of the songs, because like I had music that I'd planned, but then it got to the point where I was like, okay, Mila, we only had like 8 songs of this kind of genre. We need to go and look. So it was a lot of like thinking on my feet, but it was very fun. Yeah,
when it was your time slot to come on, I was like expecting the music to like lighten up a bit, and I like checked the time. I was like, is this Mila? I was like, oh, okay, wow.
Yeah.
It's like we are going until sunrise.
Yeah,
sure, yeah.
It was unreal.
So between festivals, so this was your first season like really playing proper
like
festivals.
playing well, and not just opening which I love an opening slot, don't get me wrong, I think you set the mood, but really getting to actually engage with an audience, which was a lot of fun.
Like a warmed up crowd.
Yeah.
So the difference between like festivals, big stages, and a club. Let's just go with which would you prefer / like enjoy more?
I love clubs in winter, but I think a festival always come out on tops for me. But there's like I feel like there's a different energy when you play for a festival. Like, I give a piece of myself, and that's normally, I'm actually very lucky to say that's always been received well. But I feel like you give so much more of yourself when you're playing to a festival, because it's like those people are there for this curated experience. Clubs, people walk in and out, like, they're there. If they like it, they don't. If they're friends at a different club, they'll probably go there. They don't really follow a lineup. But like for festivals, people are there for a lineup. They're there for an experience, and you're there to cater to them and like give them this piece of you or gift or whatever. I like to think of it like I'm sharing it with them, and I hope they enjoy it too. So I think festivals I really love because they're very special, in my opinion. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Good answer.
Thank you.
I wanted to kind of arbitrarily, but not quite intentionally, but pivot away from the DJing side of things. Because obviously we also work in fashion and with models and stuff. And I think in Cape Town it's a very interesting industry, and I want to get your insight on the modeling, the e-com world of things. And you are fairly prolific as a model within Cape Town. And I think for people in the industry, and I think there's a lot of people who you'd have valuable insights for. I think young models coming into the industry, but I think you've also done enough work with enough photographers and agencies and whatever to be able to give some really valuable insight to the people more behind the scenes in the industry, in terms of how, like, I know, models often, it's a
uncomfortable job.
Uncomfortable job. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of expectations that get put on you. There's definitely inappropriate treatment in various different ways. And I just want to like give you an opportunity to share with us what you are willing.
So I feel like I'll start with advice for like younger models and stuff. And I always knew I wanted to be a model. So embarrassing, but like I just knew I wanted to. I started when I was 15 though, like properly. I worked for free for a long time, even though I was with an agency. I don't think that's so much a thing anymore, which is good because I was actually 15 working 12-hour days.
Yo,
like their food on set was minimal. It was like a snack here and there because obviously like you're working with, I mean, 15 isn't that long ago for me, but still I feel like the industry has even, what's the word, like evolved matured, since then. Because even then we were given like very small amounts to eat and drink because it's like if you bloat in the clothing, what are you doing?
End of the world.
Literally.
How dare you have food?
I think don't work for free when you start. Obviously in every field you do. I mean, I DJ'd for free for a while, but I think know your worth. I still battle with that in both. Not so much in my modeling anymore because I feel like I've established myself, but definitely with DJing. And then also, like test shoots, only do so many and don't do it with people that contact you through Instagram unless you're going with a friend or doing it through your agency. Like someone knows where you are because it's just like it's so easy to be made to feel uncomfortable. And then also I think starting at a young age can sometimes be detrimental to your like mental and emotional well-being. I wanted to start and I pushed my parents to let me start and they did. And they have been very watchful over how I treat myself and how I perceive myself because if anything had to dip, they would have pulled me out immediately. And also I'm with an amazing agency who really does care about like your body, your mental well-being and all that kind of stuff. But I know that it did affect my body image. Like I definitely battle with that from time to time, not so intensely, but more just like the way I view the world. Like my first thing is people will look at me and they will see who I am on the outside. Like I don't think people always want to take the time to get to know me. So it's interesting because I don't think you'd think that unless your whole world from 15 had been like working and it's all about what you look like, you know? So I think it's like the way that I think others perceive me is sometimes a bit skewed, but in terms of other people on the other side of the camera and the industry, I think what's so amazing is like I really enjoyed getting to know you guys at Rage because you are so kind and you make an effort. Like so many people don't with DJs, but especially models, they don't make the effort. And like you sit on set all day and you would not have said a word to anyone, you know, unless it's to your makeup artist. Like it's a weird, like there have been days where I'll shoot and I'll literally like sit alone. I mean, obviously if you're shooting with other models, it's different. Sometimes you make friends, sometimes you don't. But it's like just having nice people on set that actually want to engage with you and it makes everything work so much easier as well. And then you also feel comfortable. So no matter what you're shooting, you feel comfortable, I think. Because I've been in different situations shooting different things where if I'm not really connected to who I'm shooting with, I'll be like, yeah, this is just clothing, but it just feels weird. Or I could be shooting swimwear and like, I'm very connected to the person and it feels so safe. Like it feels so nice because I know that this is an environment where we're talking, we're getting to know each other, even if it's just for a day, you know? So I think engaging with each other and like, I don't know, just being inclusive and nice to everyone in the space makes such a difference. And so people that do that behind the scenes are so appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, create safe, comfortable, creative environments and you're probably going to get a much better creative product out of the whole thing. Like, in fact, yeah, definitely, not probably. I think it's just something that, yeah, for me, it's like we're in the industry, you know, we're in a small industry, you know, there's not that. So like try and look, like can't say we're always perfect. I'm always perfect in terms of that. I'm a fucking ambivert. I get exhausted sometimes and then I just cannot talk to people.
Fair enough.
You know, but like, I think we just try and, especially with events and stuff, we just try and be as easy of a slot in as possible in terms of like, we'll try and handle all our own shit. We'll try and trouble you as little as possible.
That's the goal.
Like, and we're just going to stay out of your hair. We're going to do what we do. And like, yeah. And then just, I think with DJs as well, for us, it's like, we're going to be up there like fiddling with cameras in front of you. Like we want you to be a bit more like comfortable with who we are and what we're doing, which I think is, it makes a difference. And I think,
also from like the opposite side, you saying like behind the camera, you should like be kind and stuff. I think it works both ways as well because like we've had a couple encounters, you know, we go into like the DJ booth, we try and like talk kindly and they're just like, get the fuck out of here.
I feel like DJing is that DJ thing is a whole different story, because I feel like I feel like a lot of DJs, not a lot, some of them can come with ego. And so they'll, like, I was once waiting to go on for a slot, and the photographer was literally just using flash, like as they do. And normally photographers check with you. And I think he did it with this guy, and the guy was just being so rude. He was like, get that out of my face. And I was like, I get that you're playing, but like, you can say it nicely.
Yeah, that's the...
Please get that out of my face works just as well.
Or please, I'm in the middle of a transition. Like, just let me,
Yeah, I mean, homie should have asked if you could use flash.
Yeah.
That is
fair
a
enough.
fair point.
But I get what you're saying.
It goes both ways.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
is the point.
Because sometimes we're like, fuck, we're just trying to do our job. Like,
shame.
Work with me.
Exactly. And it's a shit feeling.
It can be challenging. I wanted to, see what are your kind of predictions or hopes for where, I think we'll start with DJing, where the like event scene in Cape Town. Actually, no, I'm going to take this back. What do you think is the biggest challenge we have in the event scene in Cape Town at the moment?
I am speaking with very limited years of knowledge, just putting it out there, because I know, like, all the DJs like to joke with me. They're like, you've been in the scene for 3 years, what do you know, kind of thing. But from what I've observed is it's actually more of like, people don't follow a lineup, they follow where their mates are going. And I think it's not really a problem in the event scene. It's more like there's not that much of a music culture. There is in Cape Town, but not for people that want to listen. Like Joburg, my friends are from Joburg, and they will follow a lineup. They will see who's playing, no matter what time they'll go, because they're following a lineup. They don't care if their mates are there or not. I feel like it's such a thing in Cape Town. Like, people go where the crowd is. Festivals, clubs. Like, I think that's the only problem I can really think of, but I don't even know how one would fix that. I think it's just maybe, I think before COVID, it was better and people went to places for lineups, but now I feel like people are starting from scratch. Or just, it's a whole different 3 years of people that have lost out on music because they haven't been to festivals, so they don't know how to curate that knowledge. Yeah.
Or I also think it's like the 3 years of influx of people coming to Cape Town, whether it be from Joburg or Durban or the rest of the country. They didn't get that experience of, okay, come to Cape Town, this is the sort of music they have, this is the different events, because there's always the same events that happen over and over, and they give the different sounds and whatnot. But now, since everything opened up, they're like, okay, cool, where's the best jaw?
Absolutely.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah. That's fair enough. And I think it's because people are so like desperate to party after. But then there'll be so many events happening on one night and no one knows where to go. And then they all end up being like really sparsely, like no one's really there.
I think that's where we are at the moment, is that we had like, there was nothing.
Yeah.
And then there was that like 6 months of everyone trying shit, and like it was the Wild West.
Everyone was trying shit. Like everyone was doing an event, everyone was DJing.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot.
It was wild. And then now things have like started to settle a bit more. Like everyone had like the pre-season of like, oh, we're gonna figure it out. And now, like, I mean, all of the events, at least all of the ones I've been on this past season, I've been so impressed by the like production level, by the, I mean, look, we haven't done every event, but like, and there's definitely been some common elements in the events we have done, but like just the crews, the teams behind it, like people are really passionate and like really want to put out something really incredible, and that's fantastic. But I think now we're in the stage that you pointed out where like a whole bunch of people have started doing events. All the guys who used to do events are restarting, and so you do have these like, and it feels like there's hotspots of like, there'll be one weekend where it's just like, holy shit,
we got
everything's
it right.
happening this weekend.
Fair enough.
And it's like, no, you're right.
You know, like that one event that gets it right?
No, 100%. And there are those. But it's like, you do have this thing where there's a ton of options now. There's so many options, which is great. But as you said, I don't think people really know what they want. And you know, when there's that many options, people's social batteries and like are still lower than they were. Like people's capacity to party is limited to what, you know, to pre-COVID. And so it's like, if you're going to pick, you've got to pick like one event in a weekend, because
so
people are, you know, and then you are going to go to the one that your friends are going to, because you're not going to three. So you're not going to see three different friend groups. Like you're going to see, and you know, I also I don't know how you what you
yeah.
do about that. I think time is a necessary part of it, which is a boring and horrible answer to give, because it's like, yeah, just wait, and you know it does equilibrate. But I mean, we were talking about it at Rage, like how those kids. I'm gonna get in trouble. You fuck off. You just came out of high school. You're definitely still a kid. I'm still a kid. But just relax. Like they haven't had a culture of house parties through the end of high school, or like
even
older
events that you
friends
sneak
going
into.
out, or events that you sneak in. Like none of it. Hypothetically,
Not speaking from experience.
Allegedly,
yeah.
You know, they just didn't have the opportunity for that. And like, I think you learn a lot. Like house parties in high school teach you a ton.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it is like a relatively safe environment.
And you learn what you like and you don't
do
like.
Experiment and you do learn things, allegedly. You know, and that's really important, so that when you go to the festival, you go to a Rage or your first like over 18 festival, and you like kind of know what you're getting into. And I think that was limited, and like I feel really bad about that. Like that's hard. I can't imagine what the last 2 years of high school would have been like without house parties.
Even watching them, like, sounds weird, but like learn how to dance, like figure out.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
So like the first day they're like don't know what to do, and everyone has like their own specific way of moving, and you get the same people in front every single day, and then over the 7 days you just see the progression, and you're like, okay,
you watch people mature into real partiers. It was quite cool.
Ravers.
It was a real journey of I mean, like very much a coming of age. Like just watching Played Rage over the 10 days and like being able to spot those like the regulars at the front. And you go, oh my god, like. You full on watch people grow.
They like, literally looked older.
Yeah, it's crazy. You watch people grow. It's quite something. I want to go back to Bazik because for us it was, I mean, for me it was one of my favorite.
Even in the pissing rain?
Even in the pissing rain.
Okay.
Which...
You saw the size of my tent?
Yeah, no, I was going to ask because I woke up the next morning and that tiny little tent was
I was in my car.
It was...
No ways. I packed up immediately. I drove home after my set.
I was going to say that kind of makes sense.
But also I have a very limited social battery, and I was completely sober. I always am. I loved it while I was there, but I know my limit. And so before my set, I went and watched Netflix in my car, went to sleep, woke up at 2:30, got ready, played my set, and then drove home.
You're brave. You set an alarm for 2:30.
Yeah. Sure. To be fair, I forgot to open the windows in my car, so like the air started getting really bad. Like, you know, when you wake up and I was like literally dizzy, and so that actually woke me up. I was like, imagine I didn't wake up. I was going to say in time for my set. Can you imagine? No. Anyway, so I woke up a little bit before my alarm, but yeah, no.
Okay. So. I suppose you couldn't really leave.
But I needed my me
open,
time. And so that's also, I drove home and I was like, I had an amazing day, had an amazing night, time to go home. Like my battery was a bit depleted. So.
No, you made that right. I spoke to you, you're not staying for Sunday fun day. It's like,
no, I don't think
told
so.
Did you hear what happened? Of course.
I saw videos of like the literal floods.
Yeah.
A biblical sized flood.
I mean, I want to.
And I was in my little Honda Jazz. Can you imagine me fighting my way through that?
Yo, you should see some video of us fighting our way out of that. I mean, and I want to like say like all credit to the Bazik team. Fantastic management of that situation. I think it's a horrible one to end up in. You know, you never like outdoor festival planning is just always, you can plan everything you like, but if the weather fucks you, the weather fucks you.
And it's
like
Cape Town.
And it's Cape Town, so it might. Like the odds are so good, and like just the way that it was handled, I have nothing but respect for that team.
But also, I feel like the people that came were so down to just like party through it. Like literally everyone was preparing me, saying no one's going to be there for your set. Like, don't worry. And I'm like, I've played to no one so many times, and it's the biggest like group of people I've ever played to, and they danced through the mud and the rain. So also the like people that were there were down with it.
You can rave in the rain. I mean, like you can 100%.
Some of us. I don't know if I'm that committed to the bit.
I mean, like
also I'm sober the whole time, so.
Fair enough.
Like, I don't know if I can do it. Like, I loved it during the day, but at night, it has to be someone like Desiree on stage.
It was getting a little bit chilly. You have to be moving.
Yeah, or like someone that I'm like, I can't miss this. Like, if Peggy grew, I'd be there.
But yeah, it's it's one of those, and I think they were saying like we'd let you party. It's more the problem that the river's going to overflow.
Yeah, how are you going to get out?
Home? Which is such a tough call to take, and take my hat off. But yeah, that for me was like such an example of that like production level, and like the scope of it, and it is such a high standard of an event. And I think that's like that for me is what's so exciting about being in the event space at the moment. Like we are putting on world-class events. There are club events that are gaining notoriety overseas, which is so exciting, and we have this opportunity to be showcasing that side of our industry internationally, which is I think so exciting and like well deserved. We deserve to be able to do that. You look like you had a question.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask. So you don't drink
or
at all?
At all?
No. So I drank on my birthday at Rage.
Okay.
And on New Year's Eve. But I was completely sober for 3 years. And now, because I feel like I'm in a better space mentally, I drink here and there, but I don't ever drink for my sets. Like, I don't. That's just not something I do.
Because I was going to ask drinking and DJing.
No, exactly. And also, I battle with quite bad anxiety. So I would rather face that head on sober and learn to deal with being nervous before a set than try to numb it out, because I think it's so easy to slip into, especially in this industry, relying on substances. To be fair, I had one weekend where I played 3 gigs like every night in a row. I was like, okay, I can see why people do lines here and there. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Energy. This is a very, we swear, we talk about drugs.
I could see, and that's when I was like, okay, Millie, you need to go home and sleep, because I never want to get into that cycle. Yeah. Just because, I like, with my panic attacks and anxiety, that's literally what a bad trip looks like. Like mine are very physical and my whole body reacts. So I don't ever want to induce that. Like I don't need an inducer to come down. I have them naturally. You know what I mean? Like, so I just choose to stay sober mostly for that reason, honestly, because I like to be fully in control of my body, because a lot of the time I'm not, No, but
well said. And
thank you.
I think alcohol's it's a very dodgy drug, particularly when misused. Everyone should be able to make their own decisions about. I think just like about whatever substance you're going to use. The problem is alcohol is so freely available and very aggressively abused.
But especially in like, we have such a drinking culture. Like I'm always the odd one out for not drinking. Like I'm made to feel weird, and I'm like, what do you mean?
Nah, you and me both. I also.
Thank you.
Even me for this month.
Yeah, Jared for Lent.
Gave it up for Lent.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't given up anything for Lent.
It's been hard.
That's impressive. That is impressive.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, like, could do it. I could do it, that's for sure. But I just don't drink as well. I also
only another 3 weeks.
Only just another 3 weeks.
And then Easter, it's time.
Easter is gonna. Is there a festival over Easter?
No, that's when Lent finishes.
I know, but are you going?
No, going camping with my parents.
Okay,
so you can have a nice little drop with them.
Exactly. It's a nice slow start. Yeah, not too crazy. I think that's a really interesting perspective, and again, I'm glad we're talking about it, because I think. Yeah, the events industry, I think we all love it, but it's long hours. It's intense physical labor. I think it's about as good of long hour intense physical labor as it gets. But people are on both hands using and abusing various substances to make that happen. And I think it's just really good that we're having conversations, where it's like, no, I don't drink. And I think also the fact that, it's like, I'll drink in serious moderation when I feel like it. I think it's just like
serious moderation,
very, very moderated. I think it's important that that's part of the conversation that becomes more normalized. And it's like, we need to be able to have more environments where you're less the odd one out for not drinking, and, not, it's just like for everything. Like, if you want to smoke weed, smoke weed. If you want to have a drink, like, but just to have more kind of like, I think it's more conscious consumption. Yeah. I think is what it comes down to. Like, I think you said it really well, like, I think a lot of people do use substances to escape dealing with various things. And it doesn't help in the long run, and probably is to the detriment in the long run. And it's important to have those conversations.
I had this friend the one time, we had a party and she wasn't drinking. She used to drink. She wasn't drinking. I was like, why aren't you drinking? She was like, no, Jared, when you find yourself, you can get high on life. I was like,
I love that.
Fair enough.
And it stuck with me ever since.
I like that.
Didn't help though. But
I'm still
But it's
lost,
true.
but
I
I'm
feel
glad
like-
she was.
But I feel like it's also like, I always think I'm so nervous and stuff, but I have the self-confidence to go to a gig on my own. I like going on my own and play completely sober and leave. And like, it does actually take like knowing yourself and being comfortable in yourself to like do that, because, you know, it can be a crutch. So that's so interesting. I agree with her.
Yeah, no, I think it's, like, have a drink if it's what you want and you enjoy, and it is, but like, if you needed to socialize, or if you need, like, have a look at that, like, this is a judgment-free zone, but just in terms of like, alcohol abuse is a very serious problem in this country, and substance abuse in general, but alcohol's the really bad one. And I think just having more people know that there are alternatives, and like, it is important for people to see that people like you will go, be all over the events industry, but, not drinking, because it gives an alternative to other people who maybe don't, aren't as established or don't have the same amount of confidence or experience to be able to do that, and just to be able, like, there's camaraderie in that, and there's value in hearing other people say that. So yeah, I think it's important, and it's definitely against the status quo. And yeah, I think we are changing what that looks like. I think, I'm really proud and stoked with the kind of impact that people of our generation are having coming into the industry, and being able to have these conversations because they're important. Yeah.
Felt.
Beautiful.
what do you do in your spare time?
What spare time? No, I'm kidding.
What does that mean?
So I actually had the weekend off for the first time in ages. I didn't have a gig, I didn't have a job, and I didn't have an essay due. So I did nothing. I went to the beach, which is funny because that's where, I don't know why it's funny. Sorry, it's not. But like, I just like to decompress. I think it's super important, especially after gigs. Like if I play a really crazy slot or something, I'll need to wake up the next day at 8 and go for a walk and decompress. So this weekend, that's literally what I did. I went for walks, just beached, and literally did nothing, which was so nice because I'm kind of bad at doing that. I like to fill my time. Normally I'll be like, okay, no, now I've got to do admin, now I've got to do invoices, wada. And so I did nothing. So in my spare time, I'd say I like to decompress because I think it's important to do that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's a good answer, yeah.
Thank you.
Need to learn how to do, I think we all need to learn how to do that a bit better, myself especially, because I think it's one of the problems of doing what you love a lot of the time is that it is so easy to do that.
Yeah.
Like
it's
really easy for me to work all day, every day, because I generally like what I do. I generally love what I do. And even when it's like the cuck things, it's like, it's fine. But I think, especially in the creative industry, it so easily leads to burnout. It so easily leads to, because you want to. Yeah. Like you want to push yourself.
Because you see results, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like I'm working hard and...
It is important to be able to take those times. And I think the other thing that makes it so hard is like the kind of industry we're in is that people like, you work on the weekend. So then you're like decompression time is during the week, but then people expect you to be completely, responsive on emails and getting back to things. And it's so hard to disconnect because you don't get to go, hey, it's Friday, 5 o'clock. I don't work now. Yeah. Like that's just not the reality.
Starts.
Yeah, exactly. Like often it is when the hardest work of the week starts. And it's really hard to then carve that out because a lot of people don't understand that. And people just assume creatives are going to
reply, but also that like it's a creative job. Why don't you like want to work to your wit's end for your money? And that irritates me.
I think it's a big problem. I think it also contributes usually to the like undervaluing yourself side of things because other, people do assume that like it's a creative job, it's a creative job and people overwhelmingly don't value creative jobs properly. But B, it's then it is like, you do love it. So why aren't you willing to do it for only this amount or why, and it's like, Yeah, no, I've done that. Hey. We've done that, and now yes, it's a job, and yes, we're really lucky that we don't hate our jobs.
Yeah,
like most people. Like we're not looking to like 5 o'clock because that's when life starts. But like you still need to pay us for our time. You know, it's like we spend years developing this skill. It's a valuable skill.
And putting in so much of your own work. It's not like you can always go to an institution. Like I mean, you can pay for DJ courses, but I taught myself off of YouTube and stuff, and I put in my time, my effort. And also it's often expensive to start a creative like thing, because you have to self-fund it before you see any, I mean, I suppose with most jobs, but like it could be a while till you see return.
100%.
No, absolutely. I mean, and I think it's more high risk. It's more, you know, there's way more question marks, because you can't go and get a degree that says, okay, you are the standard of this thing.
Yeah.
So you can, you know, get a job of the standard of this thing. It's so much more intangible that, I think it presents itself with a host of challenges that other industries don't have to deal with. But I think, to wrap things up, because this has been a very nice episode and I want to keep it nice and tight. What is your biggest wish for the creative industry in Cape Town going forward?
I think that it's valued more, especially by, I think our generation values it and the generations coming up. But I just know that there's so many other creatives that, like, I'm lucky my parents support me in some parts, like emotionally. But I would say that it's more valued, just also from like older people, because I mean, it's your parents that won't approve of it, or like it's the people that'll be like, I'm going to only pay you this much because they don't think your work is that valuable. So I think just that it's more valued and that people are paid properly for their time. And also I think that people are made aware of like they, as a creative, also have, I want to say rights because that sounds really dramatic, but like,
no, it's true.
They have the right to like fair pay and like feeling good about their job and not feeling less than. I don't know if that makes sense. That sounds very dramatic, but I just feel like
it makes absolute sense. You're not being dramatic in the slightest. I think it's a big problem. My one like confidence on that is like, all of these people who don't value AI, don't value creativity in the workspace, AI is coming for your job, and it's coming for ours a lot slower. So fine, keep doing it. The market's going to value us better anyways. It doesn't matter.
That's so funny.
You know, quite literally doesn't need you. AI is going to come in and change things, and I think human creativity is going to be the value.
Yeah.
And I think we're set up pretty nicely to make the most of that, which is really exciting.
I hope so.
Thank you so much for your time.
Having me
and for sharing everything with us. I really, really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you, and thank you for being so vulnerable and honest as well.
No, thank you for having me in your space. I appreciate it a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you, homies, for watching, listening, wherever you are. Make sure you check out Mila and Mila's mixtapes and all of the things. It'll all be in the bio below. Give this episode a like, share it with your friends. There's going to be some banging reels out of this, so please share them with your friends, because there's going to be some wisdom. So yeah, like, share, subscribe, you know the drill. Check everybody out, and we'll see you next week. Much love. Bye.